Hey y'all. Before we dive into the episode today, I wanted to real quick tell you about a free training my friend Nicole Ricardo put together just for listeners of The Unclassical Musician. You probably remember Nicole from episode 20 when interviewed her and we talked all about how to better market yourself online as a musician. And I wanted to let you know that we did a free training together for you guys, breaking down her entire system on how to consistently sell out your offers using Instagram, whether that's booking more private lesson students, booking more master classes, getting more gigs, getting speaking engagements without needing a massive audience in order to do it. Y'all know me hanging out with my 1,100 best friends. You do not need a massive audience in order to leverage Instagram to help you sell your stuff. So, Nicole is literally walking you step by step through her 4-part sell out your offer system. And at the end of the training, she also tells you more about her course, the Instagram Marketing and Sales Academy. Because, y'all, if you are trying to book more students or sell out more gigs, literally anything, you're using Instagram as a marketing tool in your business and you need to be in this course. I'm in it. I love it. I'm learning things. We can always be learning more, right? So I'm going to put the link to the replay for that free training in the show notes for this episode. So if you're interested and you missed it the first time, you want to go back and catch it again, you can go back and watch it. And let me know what you think about it. And let Nicole know if you have any questions at all about her course or me. We'd be happy to answer them for you. Thanks, guys. And here's the rest of the episode. Hey there. My name is Tori Lupinek, and you are listening to The Unclassical Musician, the podcast empowering the new generation of classical musicians to take risks and live a fulfilling life. Each week, we dive in headfirst into a topic on the minds of young professional musicians and come out the other side with a new perspective on life as an artist. Hello! It's me again, your host, Tori Lupinek. We are in the thick of Mental Health Awareness Month here on the Unclassical Musician, midway through the month of May, and I am super excited for you to listen to this conversation with Dr. Rusty Holmes today. If you don't know who Rusty is, he is a French horn player based in the Austin area. And he's a speaker, teacher, freelancer, plays with all of the Central Texas orchestras, and teaches privately. I would consider Rusty to be I know there's some negative connotations around this, but quote unquote motivational speaker, because every time I hear him talk on his IG lives, I am instantly motivated to do something to make myself a better person. And Rusty is very much an active lecturer and speaker and has talked at a whole bunch of workshops and stuff. His musical pathway is also kind of similar to Amanda's from last week, sort of. His undergrad is in music ed. He also has his master's and his doctorate in horn performance. Today, our conversation is going to focus on Rusty's mental fitness routine and his musician system for success. If you don't know what a mental fitness routine is, I didn't know either before I started following Rusty, so we're going to talk about that today. And then his musician system for success is the thing that he goes around and gives talks on. So if you haven't watched any of his Instagram lives yet, I'm going to link all of his stuff in the show notes so that you can watch them. Another fun fact about Rusty is he is a shuffler, which I didn't know what that was until recently, but it's a kind of dancing sort of. You have to see it to like fully understand what it is. But I asked Rusty to be on the show because I really love his energy. I really love his mindfulness stuff that he talks about, and I think it's super beneficial for everyone to keep in mind these things. So here's Rusty Holmes. Are you ready?
Ready, Freddy.
Okay, let's do it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show, Rusty. I've been really looking forward to getting to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm just thrilled to be able to jump on your platform. So looking forward to all the conversation.
Yes, I mean, it's pretty chill and like I say that, but it gets pretty deep sometimes too.
Right.
Especially this month with like all like because this is all mental health themed stuff. It goes from like, oh, this is good to know to like, oh, this is like really deep and probably a little more emotional than people were looking for today, but it's fun.
You just got to talk about the hard stuff sometimes or all the time. You know, I'm a big advocate. I think like let's just jump right in.
So before we jump right in, can you please take a moment to tell the people a little about yourself, what you do, what you've been up to during the pandemic, and like what you do for money as a musician?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rusty Holmes, and I am a teacher, speaker, and freelance horn player living in Austin, Texas. Right now, I did my undergraduate degree at Oklahoma State University and my master's and my doctorate at the University of Texas here in Austin. I play in the Central Texas Philharmonic as well as the Mid Texas Symphony, and I teach about 5 million middle school and high school students and some adult amateur students as well. So I guess that's kind of what my main income is, teaching, and then some freelance work as well. And now, more recently, I've been getting into some speaking, which has been so stinking fun. It's been so awesome to actually, like, in a very real way, add that to my CV, add that to my resume. So that's been really fun. And that's kind of what has happened during the pandemic. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I finished my doctorate. And so I had basically had the rest of my life ahead of me and everything shut down. But I felt really fortunate in that because I had no intentions on taking action on this whole speaking thing in such a real way. And I also had no intention on being a content creator. And I think both of those things were allowed by the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I've been maintaining all my students online, which is, I just feel so much gratitude for that. I mean, no kidding. I've never taught so many students over a summer before, but because all of their plans were canceled, they all just wanted online lessons. And I was like, yeah, like, let's do that. So I taught my full studio. It's been virtual this whole time, which has actually been really great for me. And then, I needed to find some things to kind of continue my own professional endeavors. So I presented some of my research at an international horn workshop last summer, and then started putting together some content on mental health and mental fitness, and kind of sharing my thoughts on that, and then put together a lecture tour, which it was a wild thought that I had going into this year. Once I realized that, okay, we're still in this pandemic, everything is still going to be virtual. What can I do going forward? And I was like, virtual lecture tour. Here we go. Emailed like every horn professor that I knew or didn't know in the country, basically, and I presented my musician's system for success at 20 different colleges and universities. So
Wow.
it was wild. It was so wild. It was awesome. So feeling lots of gratitude for that. And so, yeah, that is me up to today.
Wow. So can I ask what your graduate research was on for your DMA?
Yeah, so I'm a low horn player, and I absolutely love the lower register of the horn. And Denise Tryon, who is the former fourth horn player of the Philadelphia Orchestra, now she is the teacher at the Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. She commissioned a lot of low horn solo pieces, and I think they are just so out of this world. They're so cool. And just a lot of people just don't know about them yet, but I kind of did research on why they are historically significant and highlighted that work. And yeah, it was so much fun because not only did I enjoy playing that rep, but I got to like talk to Denise and interview all the composers and all the little things that go into that research. I was just totally a nerd about. So it was a really fun project to do.
That's so cool. Yeah, I wanted to ask because I didn't know if like your DMA research was like related to the stuff that you now speak on
No,
or not.
no, I think that that I love that research that I did, and all the low horn stuff is definitely my life as a performer and things that I want to continue to incorporate into my life as a performer. But the mental fitness stuff, this is more of my life's work. I didn't want to try to sum up anything in a doc. I just feel like I'm just now starting to really build on the whole mental health for musicians thing, and I knew that that was going to be a bigger thing in my career. So yeah, I wanted to kind of steer clear of touching that in my doctorate for that reason.
I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. And like when you say like your life's work, I mean, like it's the work that you're passionate about and you're going to be doing for your life, but like everything, every part of your life up until now has been contributing to what you now call your life's work.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So when you were a little freshman undergrad in college, did you ever think that speaker was going to be part of your resume as a musician?
Yes and no. Like a solid yes and a solid no. It's so funny because my mom was a speaker. She gave seminars at a prison to inmates who were kind of going out into the real world again. And so she gave like these motivational life skill lessons, lectures. Um, what's funny is that I never knew that until I was an adult.
Wow.
I never knew that. So I say that that influenced me, but really it influenced me kind of retrospectively. But you know that maybe this isn't everybody has to take this, but there's like that speech class, the intro to speech that every freshman has to take in college. Did you have to take this?
We did like some like speech giving stuff in like my language arts in high school.
For
Yeah.
whatever reason, maybe it was just like I was fulfilling some kind of credit, but I took this speech class at Oklahoma State. And, you have to like give a speech about like how to do something. And you give a speech in front of the class on how to do something. And then you give it whatever. So the last speech of the year is a persuasive speech. You have to like persuade the class of some important issue or to do something, whatever, persuasive speech. And so I jump up there, like I'm like 19 or something. You know what I was going to persuade people to do? I was going to persuade them to take ownership of their education. Like that
Ah.
was that was my topic. I'm like getting up there like this little kid, just like take ownership of your education, be awesome, like grab life by the horns. It was just so funny, and it wasn't a very good speech, but I, for whatever reason, really loved motivational speaking. I've just always been into it, and so yeah, like that was from I was like I think 19 whenever I gave that speech, and that kind of started this big interest in that. And then I didn't know that I could make money doing it as a musician. And I always knew that as a pedagogue, this was like a big part of my teaching philosophy. I want to talk about motivation and inspiration, and now what I call mental fitness. That's been these pillars in my philosophy as a pedagogue, and I never knew that it would kind of take on its own entity. So that's a very new development in my life that I'm just thrilled about. It's been so much fun so far.
Wow, that is so I can't believe that your mom was doing like essentially motivational speaking and you had no idea.
I know. It's like she was like one day like, by the way, I used to do that. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? How did I not know that? Yeah, but I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and here I am, just
Yeah.
in a way.
So now I have to ask you about that specific term, motivational speaking, because there's a lot of like feelings around that word. Like some people are like, oh, that's cheesy. Motivational speeches are like hokey, or like they don't speak to me. Like how do you feel about using that term, motivational speaker, for yourself?
Oh, I don't know. I really actually dig all the hokey stuff. I
Hmm.
love that cheesy, like I will like those motivational videos that you watch on YouTube that's got all the epic music behind
Oh
it and it's
yeah.
boom,
Hmm.
boom, like all these big drum and it's just like I love that stuff. I'll be like running around my neighborhood feeling like Superman. Like I love that kind of motivation. It really pumps me up. I understand that like that's not everybody's cup of tea. And I think I've been experimenting a lot with my content. I'm still so new to doing this. So I feel like I have a lot of freedom to experiment because really a lot of people don't know about me yet. And that's totally okay. I'm still like, building and experimenting, but there, I have I maintain a YouTube channel of kind of motivational videos, kind of quasi motivational videos. And at the beginning of the pandemic, they were just like totally hilarious. Like it was just me being a personality, super goofy. It was just kind of like a bunch of jokes. And like the point of it was just like, chase your dreams, go after what you want to in life, that kind of thing. Now I'm experimenting with more content of that kind of like that motivational, like just here's a rant about like chase your dreams, show up in life, show up for yourself, show up for the people in your life, like, and I've become more and more passionate about speaking like that because that's how I've kind of come up through this, and those are the things that really impacted me. But of course, I'm also speaking on like the lectures that I give. Those aren't necessarily motivational lectures.
Hmm.
That's more uh, concrete information, practical tools, and exercises really specific to musicians and that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess right now I'm experimenting with just all the content. So whether you call me a motivational speaker or whatever, right now a label doesn't really really define anything that I'm doing. So.
Yeah, I feel like, if there's anyone who needs an extra hit of motivation, sometimes it's probably classical musicians. And like, I don't think they're, or I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know any other classical musician who also does like a crossover into like the motivational like speaking stuff, like specifically talking to creatives, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get this wrong. I hate this, but they're the tuba professor at New Mexico, University of New Mexico,
Okay.
Arizona. It's somewhere over there. He's a tuba professor. Oh, and I don't even know his name. This is awful. He was
Okay,
he
we
was
can Google it.
yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Mm,
He was featured on the Bold Brass podcast
okay.
or that interview. So we'll put some information down there. But he does a lot of motivational speaking too, to musicians. So I know
Okay.
he's like the one person that I that I know of. And Jeff Nelson too at Indiana University. He does the fearless performance. Um,
Yes.
so it's a online course for being able to perform better. And he's kind of, but he's, with a Canadian brass and has a billion gigs. So that's not
Yeah.
his main gig in any way.
He's French horn, right? Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I thought. I knew I had heard of him before at some point. But
Yeah.
okay, so motivational speaking.
Mhm.
Um, so your undergrad is in music ed and then your other degrees are in French horn, but when did you like did you have an inkling like in your DMA that you had your like life's work that you wanted to share with the world, or did this like happen like because of
Well,
the pandemic.
let me just take you back a second. Also, it's trash day here in Austin, and I just can't help what's about to go down behind
Oh,
me.
it's okay. No worries.
It's gonna sound like a pot of whales, probably, as it usually does.
Okay.
Um, so way back, I'm just gonna take you
Hmm.
way back in the day, little 18-year-old Rusty going into college. I came out of the closet my freshman year, and it was pretty awful. And
Oh.
I just didn't. Whatever, that was 10 years ago, and it just wasn't, the climate isn't the same as it was now. And I just grew up in the country. I grew up in a town of 700 people out in the sticks. So
Mm.
I just had all of, I was just screwed up because of that. And I had my horn professor, Lynette Compton, just this amazing mentor to me, helped me through that. And I had I just started developing some skills around taking care of my mindset and my mental health, because it was just absolutely necessary for me to do that, for me to be able to function as a musician. I was needing to be able to function as a person. And it started then, where it's just like, oh, I can actually change my view on life, my view of myself. I can show it better in the practice room, show it better as a colleague, show it better as a friend through working on my mind and my happiness and my mental health. Like it's not just for me, it's for everybody around me. And I started developing that. And by the end of my undergrad, I just I was into watching TED Talks all the time. I'd always been into journaling, which we're going to talk about. I'm such a big advocate of journaling, and I can talk about that all day. But I was already journaling and figuring out the benefits of doing that, and incorporating fitness into my lifestyle and all this stuff. So that led me up to my master's degree and moved to Austin. And at that point, I was just really passionate about taking care of my body and my mind and showing up as a musician, as this, as my authentic self, which was really important to me after I came out of the closet, just kind of figuring out who I was. And uh, developed this skill set of personal development as a musician. And so in my master's, I actually presented at my first workshop, and I gave a lecture called Habits of the Balanced Musician.
Mm.
And it was about just all the things that you need to tend to in your life other than music, for you to show up as a great colleague, as a great performer. Then and I think I gave it a couple of times. And then in my doctorate, I gave another lecture. There was around the same thing. I gave another lecture at the International Horn Symposium about a morning routine for classical musicians. And so I don't know, I guess slowly but surely, from that point of me beginning my undergrad degree, I just started like working on myself, and then wanting, maybe just through that like desire to speak and share, I just slowly but surely became this like motivation is like what I'm throwing out into the universe. And so there was definitely not a moment that I was like, oh, now it's time for me to start contributing to this space. It was a very gradual process, I think.
Yeah. And I'm sure that at the core of that is wanting to help others, or like show others that like these are the things that have helped me get through a really hard time, as not even a musician but just as a person, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, and I like being representation for people. I love showing people that like this is hard. And like sometimes your life falls apart. And sometimes like, whether you have like a parent that dies, or a friend that gets in a car accident, or you absolutely bomb a recital, or you get a playing injury, or whatever happens, at some point life is going to knock you on your butt. And I love being representation and sharing this story and sharing my own struggles, so that other musicians can be like, oh, it's not just me. It's not just
Yes.
me. Everybody goes through all the shit, and then you can rise above it. You can still achieve your goals, even though you can still be resilient, even though you can rise above your story. I'm so passionate about that. I think as musicians, a couple of things we all subscribe to, or I think a lot of us subscribe to, a victim mentality. of like we're at the mercy of the circumstances that we're in, whether that be like we're in a pandemic or whatever the ensemble situation is. Yeah, I can't perform my best because of whoever is conducting or whoever's in my section, or we have this like blame everybody else for our own problems. And I do not tolerate that around me. I don't, and I think that's whenever I become a college professor, because that's what I want to do one day. That's just something that my students will know and grow to love. Like it's so empowering to get away from that victim mentality, and kind of rise above it because of these things. Making life happening for you instead of to you. And I think that was the whole thing during this pandemic, that I almost feel guilty for saying it, but I've just been thriving in the pandemic. And it's because the whole time, like, how is this for me? How is this for me? How can I be online? Everything's online. I can be online. Like, what's my next thing? What's my next thing? And not being like, oh no, live music isn't here. Or like, because I feel like that is, if you go on Facebook for 2 seconds, that's what everybody's saying. Like, oh no, like this sucks. Everything is awful. And it's like, well, I'm not letting that in. That's not going to be me, And I try to preach that a lot, because I think whether it's a pandemic or a different kind of tragedy that happens in your life, at some point, life is just going to not go the way that you thought it was going to go. I also think that musicians work out of scarcity a lot. A thing that I really love talking about is self-efficacy, which is this, belief that you can have in yourself of not just self-confidence, which I think self-confidence is just like this general belief. It's like very not specific. Self-efficacy is the belief that you can overcome circumstances and that you will be successful no matter what happens. It's this belief that you can handle situations that come up in your life. And I think it's so important for musicians to develop that as a skill. And it is a skill. It's not just something you're born with. It's not like some people like believe in themselves more than others, which is true. But anybody can build on their self-efficacy, this belief that they are able to achieve their dreams or their goals or their aspirations. But if you think about how most musicians hit the practice room with this crippling self-doubt of, I'm here in this practice room again, and I'm never going to win this audition. I'm never going to be good enough. My high range will never improve. With all of this doubt, we are just a cohort of people that love to be attached to doubt. We show up to our lessons and our professors affirm that. It's constantly like, you're not good enough yet. You're not good enough yet. And perfectionism is just everywhere with musicians. I think it's so important to work on self-efficacy for those reasons, where you can thrive, you can navigate a life of being a musician from a place of abundance, of like, I am always good enough, and I am always getting better, and I am always showing up for myself. When I go to the practice room, I love getting better at my instrument. I love figuring out my problems and finding solutions to these things. And I love taking what I'm working on to my teacher and showing them what I've progressed and them giving me feedback so I can get even better. It's the same stuff, but it's just reframed to be, I believe in myself, rather than I will never make it.
Oh my gosh. It's like if I'm being quiet because I'm just enthralled by what you're saying, because it really hits home for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, but like, whoo, yes. Especially like, because me personally, I've been trying to get better about my self-confidence. But really, what we're saying, it's not so much the confidence, it's the self-efficacy that I need to be working on personally.
Yeah. It's incredible, no one else cares if you make it or not. I talk about this a lot. No one else cares. Your friends support you, your family supports you, your teacher supports you, but no one cares if you ever actually are successful at doing whatever it is. If it's winning an audition, if it's having some kind of whatever kind of career, because that's what I love that now it's kind of normal to see different kind of careers happen in music. But if that whatever it is that you want to do, no one cares if you actually are successful. It's just you. But we seek out our teachers' approval, our friends' support, our parents' approval or support, or we are always asking for validation and for other people to tell us that we're good enough. And it almost never comes from within. And it's just a skill that I don't know why that gets left out so much. But you have to believe that you can do it. Like, you believe that you can do it. You're a cheerleader for yourself, and that's why I'm so passionate about talking about mental fitness, because I think that's just a skill that you can get really good. Like, not just like I have self-efficacy, you can get really good at believing that you can achieve what you want to out of life. Like, you can develop the skill of like, I can rise above anything. Like, watch me. And if you hear someone else doubt you, you're like, I'll show them. Like, I know that I can do this. And you can just build on that and build on that through a mental fitness routine.
Oh my gosh, Rusty, you're gonna make me cry. I'm sitting over here like, oh, this is yes, like this is what I needed to hear today.
It's the time and the place, sister. Let them fly.
I know. So, okay, so let's talk about mental fitness then. So, can you like define mental fitness like concisely for
Yeah.
people who don't know what it is?
Yeah. So, well, I'd like to kind of give a little anecdote if I can.
Mhm.
So if you imagine someone, let's think about like physical fitness and physical health for a second. So if you imagine someone who is just physically healthy, this is somebody who is, living an active lifestyle, not eating too much junk food, vitamins for just like helping their body function. If they get sick, they're going to the doctor. They're just like physically healthy, taking care of the body. Now imagine someone who is into fitness, like an athlete,
Mhm.
someone who is training their body through exercises, through daily exercises to like perform at a really high level at really specific things. Objectively, someone who is into physical fitness can outperform someone who is into physical health. Like, that's just like how it goes,
Mhm.
even though someone who is physically fit is still physically healthy. They're
Mhm.
just kind of building on top of that. I love applying that to our mindset and to our mental space. Because at this point, everybody knows what mental health is. We talk about it so much. It's, go in and get help if you have depression, finding strategies and tools to work on your anxiety. It's figuring out ways of kind of navigating your everyday life so that you are staying mentally healthy. Like, we all kind of know what that means, and if you have mental health issues, you're going to get help. I don't buy that that's good enough. I don't think that that's good enough, like, whatsoever. I think we have to be mentally fit, especially as musicians. But I think also just as a person walking the planet in 2021, it's tough out there. It's hard.
Mhm.
It's tough. And so, I think it's important that you are doing daily exercises to work on different aspects of your mindset. Um, that looks like working on distancing yourself from your emotions so that you're able to show up in rehearsal better, show up as a colleague better. It's practicing being uncomfortable, practicing discomfort. Everybody's like, how do I perform better? Well, if like the only scary thing that you're doing in your life is walking out on stage, which by the way is terrifying, but if that's the only scary thing that you're doing, yeah, you're gonna fail. That's hard. Like, you have to practice doing really difficult things, really uncomfortable things. Having gratitude, Like whenever everything's good, you know, those people that it's like raining outside, they got a flat tire, they like what they like overslept their alarm, yada yada yada, and they walk into the room and they're like, hello, like they're still happy to be there. Like those people exist. It's just because they have gratitude. It's not because they're just that way. They have gratitude, and that's something that you can practice and build on. There's just, I think, a bunch of different skills like that. Affirmations is another one. You know, learning how to affirm yourself, how to build efficacy for yourself through affirmations. And if you're interested, I'll tell you about my routine.
Yes, can you please? Yeah.
So it starts. Mine is kind of like in a big morning routine. It's kind of how I start each day. The first thing I do is get up on one alarm.
Oh,
And
this
I
is
know.
rough.
And it's like not. I don't even keep my phone in my room. It is like out of the room, and I cannot tell you the last time that I needed 2 alarms. Like
Seriously?
I do not snooze. It's because it's just a practice. I'm just practicing respecting my intentions. And I also frame it that way. It's not like, oh, I got up on one alarm. Yay. I'm like, I got up on one alarm, and it's because I do the things that I say I want to do. I respect my intentions. So in my head, I frame it that way of like, great. I'm like casting a vote for being the kind of person that does what I say I want to do. And then I take a cold shower.
Oh.
I know. It's crazy, but I always take a cold shower, and it's to practice being uncomfortable.
Like
And
always?
yeah, I always take a cold shower. I go through like stretches of time that I don't. Actually, this morning, I love the community that I know in Austin, because there's just like a lot of oh my God, there's just these wonderful people here. A good friend of mine, Ellie Rome, she's like a health coach here in Austin. Um, she runs this Wim Hof meetup group at Barton Springs, which is this like cold spring that runs through the downtown. I went this morning, and we do a polar plunge. We jump into the spring, into the pool on Friday mornings after doing all this breath work, and it's at 6:30 a.m. on a Friday morning,
Ooh,
and it's just like, it's like, you know, get up, wake up, meditate, yoga, breath work, jump into some cold water, start your day. And I love doing that kind of thing. But so a cold shower is just a way of practicing being uncomfortable. Doing stuff like I make my bed every morning, I exercise every morning, and that's just building self-discipline, building consistency. You know, if you want to hit the practice room harder, if you want to like, if you have that intention of, I want to get this extra practice session in at 2 p.m. this afternoon, you can practice showing up in all areas of your life. You don't have to just wait till 2 p.m. and then all of a sudden have to be like, ugh, but now I have to do it. Just like practice all day, showing up and doing the things that you want to do consistently. You know, I always say that the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. And so if you're snoozing alarms, you're probably also showing up to the practice room late. And if you're messy, if you're like keeping a messy lifestyle, you're probably messy as a musician. You know, it's I just think the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. But after kind of going through that, then I hit the journal, and I journal every day. Every day. I absolutely adore sitting in my journal, and it's I think some people don't like journaling because they think it's like keeping a diary, and it's not that. I'm not like, today I feel this way, and yesterday this is what I did. I'm not right. Sometimes I do, like if significant things happen, I'll write down how I'm feeling, or you know what I'm up to, but it's not that. You know, I'm writing down my goals every day. I'm writing down my intentions. I'm writing down, I have and this is from me journaling. I've been journaling for over 10 years. So I have developed a lot of skills in that, but I have a personal creed that I write down. And it's just like it's a list of basically my reasons that I work on all the different things in my life. And we can talk
Wow.
about that next too, because that's my lecture was about a system of success, and
Mhm.
that was kind of all part of that, of knowing your reasons of working on yourself. But then I do gratitude and affirmations. So those four things: setting intentions, goal setting, my personal creed, my reasons why, gratitude, affirmations. And it's like an everyday thing. But now, like, I'm so skilled. Like, if my mindset could have a body, it would be a bodybuilder. Like, I'm so skilled at all of these different things after just practicing them for so long. So I just cannot advocate for it enough. Um, and I think a lot of people are kind of scared because they hear how I talk about it, and it's like, it's so, what I do is so much. But I'm putting it out in the universe again. I love this. I'm gonna make, like, those like programs, the like couch to 5K programs.
Yeah. Mhm.
I want to make one of those, but for mental fitness. And I have
You
no
should.
idea what it's going to be called yet. I want something like really clever, but it's like, if you're just starting out on a fitness journey, start by like trying to do a push-up and like walk around the block. And that's good. Like that will make progress happen. That's what you're supposed to do. And that same thing exists for a mental fitness routine or for journaling. Just sit down and like write, I got this.
Uh-huh.
And
Takes
then
2
leave
seconds.
it. Yeah, and then just leave it and be like, okay, and then show up the next day and be like, I got this, and I can do anything I put my mind to. And then leave it. The next day, show up, I got this, I can do anything I put my mind to, and I'm really grateful that I got to talk to my mom yesterday. And you just slowly start building these skills of setting intentions, working on your gratitude, working on all of these different mindset aspects, and that's in a really methodical way. People always say like, well, I just don't, journaling doesn't resonate with me. It's not about resonating with you. It's a exercise. That's like saying a push-up doesn't
Push-ups
resonate.
don't resonate with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yes, they will.
So can I ask you, Rusty, like how much time you personally spend journaling in your day?
You can ask that. Right now, it's a lot because we are still in this pandemic. My life is very chill, and I have been doing a lot of inner emotional work. I'm in therapy right now, and I'm really enjoying kind of digging into a lot of different things. So I'm hitting a journal a lot. I really use a journal just kind of throughout the day. And in the morning, it's like, in the morning right now, it's like 15 minutes that I'm sitting at a journal, but it's also because I know I'm going to hit it later on in the day. Um, whenever whenever it was in my doctorate and I was just like overwhelmingly busy all the time, I would hit it for like 10 minutes in the morning, but still a solid 10 minutes. I would sit down and like affirm gratitude. Here are my goals. Here are my intentions. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's my to-do list. Here's how I want to show up for myself today. That's been really important to me for a really long time.
Yeah, I was just curious because like I'm also in therapy and my therapist this week was like really like wanting me to like write my emotions and my thoughts down more, and I have resisted journaling for like my whole adult life, and I'm like not really sure why. But if I can tell myself like just sit down for 10 minutes, just 10
Mhm.
minutes, that's all. And you
Yeah.
don't even have to like, it's not like you're writing with like, I mean, the goal is to get your affirmations, your gratitude, get the emotions down and stuff like that. But there's no, in terms of like practicing, it's not like you're trying to get this excerpt on up to 160
Right.
beats
It
per
can be
minute in 10
it can be
minutes.
real sloppy. It can be whatever.
Yeah.
And I always tell people like, just show up. Like, write the date, write the time, write where you're sitting, and then just leave it. That's all. Then just get in the habit of showing up to a journal, because it is awkward at first and you don't know what to say, and it can be this really like weird thing. Also, and I just want to say this for the listeners. Some people will say, I don't feel comfortable journaling because I'm nervous that someone will read it, whether that be a roommate or whoever. And I've thought about this a lot because I've gotten that comment a lot of like, I'm
Mm,
nervous to put my thoughts on paper because I'm nervous that so and so is going to read it. Get that person out of your life. You need to
yeah.
surround yourself with people that will respect your boundaries. And if you feel like you're not safe to do something like that, that's so mentally healthy for you, and to keep a journal or a diary and to like, you can hide it and put it in a safe spot. But if you feel like you have somebody in your life that will come and dig that out, OMG, get that person away from you. So just want to say that because I get that comment all the time.
Yeah, that makes me sad, actually. Like, never for 1 second did I ever have that thought that, like, oh, what if I with
Yeah.
my fiance, like, what if he reads this? I've never had that
Yeah, I
thought
think that
before.
maybe that comes from like having siblings,
Yeah.
specifically younger siblings, and they're just like, "Look, mom, look what so and so wrote," So
Yeah.
I get it, but don't let that be an excuse for not trying to sit down and journal. You're just saying that like I can achieve my dreams. It's like if you're worried about somebody reading that, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Now, first, before we move on to the next thing, Rusty, I have to ask you because like time has just like flown by. Do you have a little bit of extra time or do you have something that you have to do after this?
I have extra time. I have to be somewhere in 20 minutes.
Okay. So a little bit extra time.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you go, can you like in a nutshell
Mhm.
summarize your musician system for success?
Yes, in a very tiny little nutshell.
Mhm.
So I talk about how all of our habits create these systems in our lives. And I actually have 11 different systems in my life, which is like my morning routine, my night routine, my physical fitness, my mental fitness, relationships, compulsions, all of these kind of different categories of habits that we have in our lives. And I talk about how you can make process oriented goals in these different categories of your life so that you can kind of just kind of work on yourself in that way. And in the lecture, I go into like what that looks like for us as musicians specifically. So working on your fundamentals or your performance habits or whatever that might be, how to set process oriented goals that are biased towards action. I love that phrase so much. Biased towards action. That if you set this goal just by setting it, it's going to help you achieve it. Um, yeah, sorry, that's a nutshell.
That is a tight nutshell.
I can
So
go I can go on and on and on about that, but yes.
11 different areas you said?
Yeah, and those are just specific to me. And I think this comes from journaling so
Mhm.
much. But I think a lot of people can relate to them though too, as the ones that I mentioned before, and like my work life, my life as a musician, hobbies is
Mhm.
one of those as well. And yeah, along with all the mental fitness, physical fitness, all that morning routine, night routine, all that junk.
Wow. I mean, it all makes sense. And I can see in my head how it could add up to be 11, but wow. So that's also like being a son or a
Yeah, absolutely.
partner and
Absolutely. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. And this whole thing, I think, can look very overwhelming on paper, but the way that I talk about it is how any system, group of systems works. So if you think about like the engine of your car, it's got all kinds of different things that go on inside of it. The oil and the transmission system and the AC and the whatever, and all that combines with the tires and the frame to make this whole car go. And if you get a flat tire, that makes the whole car stop going. But
Mhm.
you don't need to like have your transmission looked at. Like you just have to fix the flat tire. And so that's the same thing by identifying all of these different systems in your life. It's not like attend to all of these 11 different things and build goal. It's not that. It's like whenever you notice that something in your life is not going the way, like you can pull your attention to this one thing. And I have a lot of just proactive ways of tackling any issues in your life so that you can run as a whole musician or as a whole person efficiently.
Wow. That okay. I mean, I feel like this conversation could have kept going for another 45 minutes, but I want to be respectful of your time today. Maybe we'll have to have you back on the show at some point.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
So before we go, though, can you please tell the people where they can find you online if they want to consume some of your very valuable content?
Yes, a lot of my content is coming out on my Instagram account at Rusty Holmes Horn. That's at Rusty Holmes Horn. And then also my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rusty Holmes. If anybody's interested in, like, I have an old blog that I don't update anymore, but if anybody's interested in some of that older content, it's at my website, rustyholmes.com. And I think that covers the basis of where everyone can find me.
Great. And we're going to put all those links in the show notes so that the people can find you very easily.
I do want to plug it very quickly. I have most Mondays I drop YouTube videos. So if people want to check those out, they can expect those on Mondays. And then I also go live on Instagram, 6 p.m. on most Sundays. And people can kind of just check out my account and kind of check the stories to see if that is actually happening or not, because of course it is on a weekend and sometimes it just can't happen. But if anybody ever wants to come out, hang out live, that's 6 p.m. Central Time on Sundays.
And I do love your lives. I never watch them at 6 p.m. on Sundays, but I do watch them afterwards. I promise.
Yeah, I think that's most people's thing. I think they're kind of meant for that anyway. So that's perfect.
Okay, good. And yeah, I'm going to share some more stuff so that the people can see your lives on Instagram and stuff too. But I super appreciate your time today, Rusty. It was such a pleasure to get to meet you and to get to talk to you. And I can't wait to personally implement some of the things that you talked about on the show today.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun to kind of talk about all this stuff. I'm just so passionate about it. So thank you for hosting me on your podcast, and can't wait to send it out into the social media world.
Yes, of course. It's my pleasure, Rusty. My pleasure. All right. Have a great rest of your weekend, or beginning of your weekend.
Yeah, beginning.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You too.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, well, I don't know about you guys, but I am certainly motivated to start implementing some of these amazing concepts that Rusty was talking about. Wow, talk about a motivational speaker, right? So eloquent. I'm very inspired. And I think that was a lovely addition to our mental health programming on the show for May. Let me know how you liked this episode, please. If you want to leave a comment on the posting in the Unclassical Musicians Facebook group, or if you want to leave a little review on Apple Podcasts, I would super appreciate it. And we have one more episode in this series this month featuring New World Symphony fellow and flutist Leah Stevens, who, if you're not a flutist, maybe you don't know who Leah is, but she has been very, very open and vocal about her personal struggles with mental health on social media for as long as I've been following her, which is probably 5 years, maybe. So we're going to be talking all about her struggles with mental health as a musician before the pandemic, when they started to get worse, how music school is related to all of this, and then also during the pandemic, and some cautious hopes for the future on the other side of the pandemic, perhaps. And that will be our last episode for Mental Health Awareness Month. Yay! This is our first time doing a whole month of themed content. Please let me know how you felt about it, and if this was helpful, and if it's something that you would like to see more from the show in the future. I would super appreciate the feedback. And let's see, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Tori Lupinek Flutist. If you want to follow the show on Instagram, it's the hashtag #TheUnclassicalMusician. Please follow the hashtag. There's no Instagram page or profile for the show. And we're also on Patreon for exclusive content. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all back here next week, same time, same place, on The Unclassical Musician. Bye now.